Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. A couple quick announcements. Please silence your cell phones. Remember to provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question. We'll start in the room, and then we'll get to the folks on Zoom if there's time. And remember, recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. We'll start off with an opening statement from Coach Banghart.
Well, we're certainly grateful to be in this position. You know, Carolina's put on they put on a good crowd today for us. You know, that's why you earn hosting. I asked these guys after, did they take that moment in about how many people have really gotten behind this team? That's the benefit of the work you put in. So that was really fun. You know, it was a little rusty coming off of 2 weeks without a game, but we really got to find our rhythm and showed the progress we've made in the second half with better on both ends, quite honestly, being crisper, moving it better, shooting it with better pace and rhythm. And then, you know, Alyssa, what do you say about a kid that just set the rebound record at a school and a program that is as rich in tradition as this one? It's hard to come to a place like this and do something that hasn't been done before, right? Or be number one, and couldn't happen to a more deserving kid. Really, it means a lot to her, as it should. And I'm super proud that I get to be the one that coached her, the one who has now the rebound record at the University of North Carolina. So great win, great team that we had to beat. That's kind of the case in March, and we're moving on, which is really exciting.
We will start with questions strictly for the student athletes. We have Alexi Donarski and Alyssa Usby. Go ahead, we'll start down front.
I'd like to say Doug Bonjour, Associated Press. Just curious, what fueled your third quarter shooting surge?
I think it was really the defensive intensity that we came out with. We pressured them and were able to turn them over. I feel like over half of our steals that we had in this game had to have come from that third quarter, just pushing pace offensively through our defense. The majority of those looks were in transition.
Down here to the left.
James Moore, Fayetteville Observer. Alyssa, can you kind of go through your emotions at that moment when you broke the record? How were you feeling, and what did it take for you to get to this moment?
Well, I think it's taken a lot of perseverance to get to this moment, because that's not a goal that I set out to reach right when I got on campus. I just trusted that if I did the right things under Coach Banghart, and then those things would come. And so I never really had to worry about it. I just had to keep playing true to myself, and rebounding is like a skill that I've developed over the course of my career here. And so that kind of is just like the icing on the cake. But in that moment, it was just really cool to see a lot of people just cheering and kind of being in that moment with me. But ultimately, I was focused on making sure we came out with a win, even though we were up quite a bit at that point. So my focus was really on Oregon State, but I was really trying to take in the moment and look around a little bit at the 5,000 fans that we had here today.
Hey, Alyssa, Ariel Bonham, Troy Hill Tribune. Could you talk about your versatility? In about half of the first half, you were playing the 5 spot, giving up 4 or 5 inches, and that had to have been a challenge, but you got through it okay.
It was actually a really exciting challenge. When I saw that I was getting pushed to the 5, I was like, yes. I was like, I want to bump around with girls that are much taller than me. And I just stuck to what I knew my strengths were, which is just rooting out my post player as long as I could and just keeping her from moving. So literally just kind of arm battling with her, and she eventually, both of them got pretty fatigued and just didn't even want to try posting up anymore, and that plays in my strength. So I was really excited to do it.
Mitch Northam, SB Nation. Okay, you can hear me? Okay, great, and now it's working again. You've now done 2 things at this program that nobody else has done. You've grabbed more rebounds than anyone else. You have the only triple-double in program history. I guess just like Coach Banghart said, considering how much history and how many good players have come through this program, does that kind of help put it in perspective to you, your impact that you've had here in 5 years?
I think I've still had a hard time kind of absorbing that and kind of taking that zoomed out perspective. But again, I know what I came here to do, which is to give my college career my all and try to make an impact. And I just want to be a part of a team that makes it really far in March and wins a championship. And so that's what we're set to do, and our sights are set on that. But I think maybe further down the road, I'll zoom out and appreciate that a little bit more.
Back down front here.
James Moore with the Fayetteville Observer. Lexi, you had a 17-point third quarter out of 30 points. Have you ever shot that well? I mean, you look like you were in practice. Have you ever shot that well, even just in high school or rec ball or AAU? I
don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's a question we can ask Matt, but I would assume that's the most threes I've made in a quarter, but I don't know. I feel like I had said earlier, our defense just pushed us forward. Like, we scored 30 points in that quarter alone, and it was all because we turned them over. We forced them to play faster than we wanted. We got them trapped in situations that they didn't want to be in. So I feel like we came out with a different mentality in that third quarter, and that just really pushed us forward.
Lindsay Gibbs with Power Plays. Lexi, I was wondering if you could speak to what Alyssa means to the team. We talk a lot about her legacy, and coaches talked a lot about her, but I'm wondering as a teammate, what does she mean, and what does it mean to see her get her moment that she didn't get on senior night and get the rebounding record?
Yeah, I would say, for us to be hosting, Alyssa's the first person that comes to mind. Mr. Senior Night, we all wanted her to have another chance to play at Carmichael. She's just given so much to this team and this program, and for her to be able to play in Carmichael again, it means a lot to all of us, as I'm sure it does to her. But to be able to share that moment with her after we all knew that she broke that record was really special. We all knew it happened, and thankfully someone had Tyler's shoe, so it stopped the game, but it was a lot of fun to be able to celebrate her in that moment because she just brings so much to this team. Her competitiveness, her willingness to fight on both ends of the floor, obviously her rebounding. So yeah, we're really happy to have her.
I'm wondering, you guys have had both have had so much experience over the past few years. What do you think this game means for the freshmen and the younger players on the team?
Alyssa, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think a part of the obligation of the starting five is to start the game off really well, not only for fighting to get a win, but making sure that we can get our entire roster in the game to get them experience, because they're going to be called on at we don't know when in tight games and situations, and so the more experience that we can get everybody, the better. Jordan Zubich came in and gave some really crucial minutes, was moving the ball well, contributed on defense, and obviously got a big bucket. So just expanding and showing our depth is just really important, and we're able to do that in this game.
Anything to add, Lexi?
Say that we have a lot of people that are willing to bring their piece. So similar to what Alyssa was saying, those freshmen and those younger players being willing to step in, not being shy of the moment, and just doing what they need to do to help us.
Alyssa, how important is your legacy? I believe you said that you knew how many rebounds you needed at the beginning of the season, and you've been counting them down. So this is something that's been in your mind all season. How important is the legacy for you?
I think the most important thing for me is to contribute to something larger than myself, so i.e. our team and this program, and to inspire people in the stands, specifically young girls that look up to me and the rest of our team. I just want to make sure that it's not only important what I do, but it's how I do it. And so just consistently coming in and getting rebounds, which is a part of my job as a forward, is making sure I get rebounds on both ends of the floor because that helps our team win. That's what's most important to me, for sure.
Anything else in the room? Thank you, ladies. Congratulations. We'll see about that.
I can add to that, given Alyssa, my son, wanted to see me before the game. I haven't seen him. So I gave him a hug, and he said, "Hey, Mom, if we lose, can I hug Alyssa on the court?" I said, "We're not going to talk about that right now."
With the Daily Tar Heel, obviously we talk about the record and everything, but it's rebounding that she's really built her career on. What does that say about her character, that it's just such a gritty position to rebound, offensive rebounding, things that she's done, the little things that she's built her career on?
I think the big thing is toughness is a skill. I think so many people think that toughness is just we can make everybody tough. It's it's a skill at an elite level. And her toughness has been a hallmark of our program, and it's why she's so adored. Rebounding is a toughness stat, especially at 6'2", right, guarding a 6'7" kid today. On both ends, she's had key rebounds. I can think of countless games where her rebounding impacted our winning. And so, it's just that her skill of toughness shouldn't be overlooked. And I know in our home base it's not, right? There are certain people that have certain other skills that are elite. Hers is toughness. And, to have a kid that has that as their superpower on our team is why we're sitting up here hosting in March.
Mitch North of SB Nation. Coach, I think a lot was made about, Oregon State having a pretty big front line.
Yeah.
And you outscored them in the paint 40-16. Didn't seem to have a problem there. Was it just toughness, or was it a little bit more than that?
Like when we played Kentucky, people that have great size, we always say you want big guys to have, don't let tall kids stand and be tall, right? We want them to move. So when we wanted to try to hold our press as long as possible so they couldn't necessarily use halftime to critique it, and being able to come out and force turnovers, those of course count as paint scores in transition, but we were able to spread them out just enough to get some 1v1 for Maria in the paint. But, we didn't want them to just load to the ball and let you and be tall. So I think we were able to move them a bit, which gave us some paint advantages.
Yeah, in the second quarter, when Maria went to the bench with the 2 fouls, instead of going to Blocker Sierra, you went to Alyssa for the 5. What went into that decision, and how did that play out?
They were really small outside of that one kid. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a little bit more movement on the offensive end and not letting them kind of be tall, right? So when they went to their double big lineup, it meant that Reese had to come out and guard on the perimeter. And so you have 2 choices. You either match them or you opposite them. And we just chose to opposite them because Alyssa that matchup didn't worry me. Letting Alyssa play the 5, no problem. And then we had the advantage in the 1 through 4 spot, given that they had to then play with a lot of space, which lets us, I thought we got good looks. We were just really rusty in them in the second quarter. But, we also, if you had told me that she'd be the 5 going into this game, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's what the game called for.
James Moore, the Fayetteville Observer. Coach, this is the most wins you have had in a season in your era here in Tar Heel country. What does that mean for you, and how are you setting your legacy and solidifying that right now?
Yeah, I don't even know how many it is. It's a lot. How many wins is it? It's a lot, which is good. Yeah, it's a lot. It takes a lot. It just takes a lot. Each win is what's the hard part about coaching is if you attach yourself to the wins and losses, you're going to miss the whole journey. So no one's in this seat unless they're uber competitive. That's part of our elite skill, is that we're super competitive if you're sitting in these seats. But if the wins and losses, if I know my win and loss record to a T, then I'm missing the journey, right? And so certainly when you're following Coach Hatchell, you're not talking about legacy. You don't come to North Carolina to build your own legacy if you're coming to a place whose coach is in the stands, and their banners up, right? But I thought this was a place that I could get kids that fit the way that I want to play, and that I could coach some of the very best players in the country from a skill set standpoint and athletic standpoint, and without any sort of handcuffs, right? And so I've been able to do that. I've been able to get the kids that I've wanted to coach. I've gotten them to be able to play the way we want to play, and that's gotten us a lot of wins this year, and it got us a lot of wins in years past as well. So I was brought here to do a job. I promised our athletic director I'd give him my very best, and we've been doing that kind of day in, day out. That's probably my legacy.
RL, reminder.
What was the message?
RL, remember to name yourself.
Oh, RL Banghart, Tar Heel Tribune.
Yep.
At halftime, you're only up by 2.
Yeah.
You knew that you were going to unleash the press, but you didn't know that Lexi was going to make 5 3-pointers. Were you comfortable at halftime? What was the mood at halftime?
It's kind of been the way this first round's gone for teams with 2 weeks off. I mean, you saw the state score, you saw you can go right on down the line. I don't even know who ended up winning some of those games because they were all close through the first half. So we haven't played in 2 weeks. We've obviously been practicing, but there is an element of a rhythm that gets a little bit disrupted from that when you're going game, and then all of a sudden I'll stop. And so I was not happy and I wasn't comfortable. But I also sort of got it. So we didn't have to make a ton of changes. I felt like we needed to be more shot willing quicker. I thought we had settled into the game in terms of how they were guarding things so that we could go to some different stuff now that we kind of saw how they guarded. But I thought we were a little tentative, like we were settling a little bit in the first half, being a little out of rhythm. And I wanted us to, finish through chests. I wanted us to win the paint and play off 2 for self or others. So we were just more aggressive and the ball went in the basket, which I've always said makes you a good coach. But it was a quicker release. She wasn't as sort of what does the team need, and more as a finisher, which is what she's better at.
Jordan played most minutes since, I think, late November. I mean, why was this the time for her to get so many minutes? And she had a nice drive. She had some decent play.
Yeah, she can play. It's no one watches more film than me and my coaching staff, right? And so we've had a lot of competitive practices since our last game. And so there's just a constant state of evaluation, right? And so when I talk about the journey, it's kind of what I mean. It's so, I know, I've been watching all 14 of these kids every day, right? And the fans and the media don't get to see them very much. So it looks like she came out of nowhere, right? We've been able to assess her play minute to minute through every practice all year, and her trajectory has continued to rise. She's continued to add some skill. She's continued to understand pace and tempo. And so, I thought she gave us meaningful minutes. I mean, she played 11 minutes. That's good for her. We counted on her and we needed her, and she was there for us. She delivered.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you, Coach Banghart.
Go Heels, you got it. Thank you.
Alrighty, we have Oregon State. We'll start with a statement from head coach Scott Rueck.
Well, credit North Carolina. They played a great second half, especially. Great game overall, but we knew they're a good team. Transition well, defend well. They were disruptive all day, which we expected, and so lots of credit to them and all the officials as well, running a great event. For this team, for it to end here today, nobody would have predicted it. Those who've been paying attention know the story and know how significant it is. And, because of that, I told him after the game, I'm just filled with gratitude for being a part of it. Gratitude to each of them for the way, not just saying yes to being a part of it, but the way they handled themselves throughout the year is just remarkable. And this has been one of the most special things I've been a part of. So of course we all wanted it to continue, but if it's going to end, not a bad way to have it end. A really good team having to play great, on their home floor, and then never fighting until the very end, and so this team deserves every accolade they get, and there've been nothing but an inspiration, so while I'm sad it's over, I couldn't be happier for what we've accomplished, more proud, and it's just been an absolute joy. And I'm talking 1 through 12, including every staff member that we have. It's just been magical, and so really proud of them.
We'll start with questions for our student athletes. Today for Oregon State, we have Kelsey Reese, AJ Marat, and Sela Heidi.
Doug Bonjour, Associated Press, and any of you can answer this, but obviously losing hurts, but when you kind of reflect, is there a level of appreciation that comes with what you guys accomplished and what you overcame this season?
Definitely. I think when you look back at it, there's so many college women's basketball players that go through their whole 5-year career and never make it to March Madness. So it's definitely something to be proud of. We won the WCC. That's an amazing accomplishment that as the days go by and as the weeks go by, we'll be able to look back and reflect. But this one hurts, as we know we're a good team and they played really well, but say we come back and play them 3, 4, 5 more times, I think we could definitely get the win. So it's hard because it's March, and obviously it's whoever plays best on the day, and credit to them. They played amazingly, especially that third quarter. But yeah, so definitely proud of our accomplishments, but definitely hurts initially.
We already did what nobody thought we could do, and that's a huge accomplishment in itself. Obviously, we wish we could have gone further, but this was a big deal for us to get here, so we're really proud.
Mitch Northam, SB Nation. This first half was really, close and hard fought. What worked so well for y'all early that maybe didn't in the second half?
I think that one of the big things that we really focused on coming into this game was our rebounding. And if I double check, we won on the boards by 8. So I think just coming out and having that intensity was a really big thing for us, and kind of what helped fuel our fire a little bit in that first half. So I'm really proud of our rebounding effort today.
Lindsay Gibbs with Power Plays. For all three of you, what did you learn about yourself the past couple of months after, you're below 500 at the end of January, I think it was a 3 or 4 game losing streak, and then to be here, what have you learned about yourselves and what will you take with you?
Kelsey, let's start with you.
Yeah, just the hard work and no quit attitude. I think every player on our team had that in them, but through the adversity, it was able to really come out and just show how much more they wanted it, how much they could give in to what the program was and what we were about. And I think you saw it towards the end, just how much everyone's grown. Like, I'd highlight Kennedy. She came in this year and had a huge upgrade in her role, let's say, and then just how she started really well, but as the season went on, you just saw her grow and grow, and the confidence and there's just so much more confidence throughout the team now and throughout every player than there was at the start of the year. And I can't wait to see what Scott does with the team next year and how far they can go.
Yeah, and for me, I think just gaining confidence, playing at this level, and then seeing each of my teammates gain their confidence. All of us are stepping into new roles, and it's a pretty scary thing to do. And new conference, that was also pretty tough. But I think it was just really fun to figure it out and figure ourselves out and figure each other out. It was a fun puzzle the whole year, and yeah, obviously we finished out pretty good.
Yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but finding confidence in myself and just believing in myself every time I stepped on the floor. I mean, this group has worked incredibly hard every day, and I think you can see how much we've grown through our grind, each of us individually and as a group. So just continuing to grow and get better every single day. So, yeah.
Mitch North of SB Nation. This program, Oregon State, has a well-established track record of success in women's college basketball. Elite Eight last year, Final Four several years ago, lots of wins along the way. For y'all to be a part of this team, to go through what you had to go through, to change conferences and all that, what did it mean to you to be a part of this particular Oregon State team and get to this point, the 24-25 season?
Huge. We all came to Oregon State for a reason. We believed in what they've done in the past, and we believed in what they're doing now. And this year, I think we showed the whole world, who perhaps stopped believing, that, hey, Oregon State's still here. It doesn't matter what changes in the world, what changes in the conference, what changes in the team, but there's always that same product and those same people. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And yeah, the three of us were on that Elite Eight team last year, so having been through that, I think this year was just spectacular. Like, it was so fun. None of us thought it would end this way, and I think it was really fun to fight and get here.
Yeah, I had a meeting with Coach Scott at the beginning of the season. We all did, and he told me that adversity can be an asset if you let it be, and that's kind of just something that I've carried with myself every day. And I think that our whole group has really shown that through everything that we've done, and we've gotten to this point where we're cutting down nets with our best friends. Like, what could be better than that?
I'm going to go to Zoom quick. Ethan Browning. Ethan, go ahead and identify yourself and fire away.
Yeah, Ethan Browning from Daily Barometer. I was just wondering, when Lexi started getting those threes in the third, I was wondering what you guys thought about that when you're on the court. Hadn't happened early in the first half.
Are we comfortable?
Sorry, that's all.
I can take it. Coach Scott mentioned in the huddle after the game that it took a big player playing a big game and rising to that occasion to put on such a show in front of a sold-out crowd on a home floor in March Madness. So a lot of props to Lexi for playing really well, and they played a great game altogether too.
Anything else in the room? Alrighty. Thank you, ladies. Girls, you're welcome to take your name card. Questions for Coach?
Scott, Doug Bonjour, Associated Press. Speaking of Lexi, how much of her third quarter was just running into a hot shooter, or how much of it was, things you guys could have done different defensively?
We didn't do anything defensively differently. I think the momentum swing at the end of the first half, we're up 2, then they take the lead, 4 straight points, and then they come out and hit 2 threes, and then a 2, it's 12-0 run. Probably just being maybe wanting to ease into the third quarter instead of remembering that this game is, every possession is pivotal in this third quarter, was probably the difference. And we know what she's capable of. She's been talked about for 5 straight days, 6 straight days, number 20, number 20, number 20, number 20. It's all that's been said, so I don't know how. It's just with the pace that they played at, you could tell them wanting to push the tempo more about the second half of the second quarter, that you could just see that was kind of their their plan. Of course, their defense changed. They pressed us to start that third quarter. And so the combination of a couple turnovers and then just maybe, just losing concentration for a moment allowed her to get free. And you're rolling the dice if you let someone like that get free. We know what she's playing for as well. And so she wanted to play big. She needed to play big. They probably weren't happy with their first half. And so you look to a player like that to step up for you, and she did for them. And so we just made a couple too many mistakes, got her going, and then it snowballed from there, once we were rattled a little bit.
Marshall from the Oregonian. Obviously, there was a lot of, you didn't really know what was going to happen after all that. Now you're going into this season. Is that something you can sell to training recruits, how you guys put this thing together, and the standard is still the standard?
Yeah, it's interesting you use that word because that was the word that we used to start the year. Standard. It was a word that resonated with this group, as we were preparing off of our team retreat. They used that word. For me, I know what my standard is, and as long as I'm the coach here, it's like it's going to be the same. It's going to be the expectation to get the most out of who we are and, to build a tight-knit group that does special things, and so while a lot of people I think were doubting what that could look like this year, I was confident that I don't know how good we were going to be or what our ceiling was going to be, but I was confident it would look right eventually. It would look like a team that's cohesive, that plays right, and is gritty and tough. So that will be the case going forward. I think our exterior, the circumstances around us in regards to conference and those types of things, as those are becoming and have become way more clear, I think what this group this year probably what they did just sped everything up. It's like, okay, if you wondered what it was going to be like, now you know what it's going to be like. It doesn't matter what conference we're in. As I said last week, Oregon State's going to be Oregon State. We're going to be a team that takes care of you and is competitive every night and makes pros, and that won't change. And so I think everybody just has evidence now if they were wondering previously.
Yeah, just to kind of, Mitch Northam, SB Nation, just to kind of piggyback off of that and sort of what I asked the players, you've won a lot of big games in your career, had a lot of really good seasons, but this season strikes me as maybe the most unique and just in terms of like what you had to deal with. Is this kind of up there with the most proud you've been of a team to get to this point after all that?
Yeah, I think, my first year at Oregon State was so chaotic. I mean, we had open tryouts and all that stuff, 15 years ago. And so that year was very unique, and that people will still say that was my favorite team you've ever coached because of what they had to overcome. This group had people that chose to stay when every bit of momentum was moving away from us as people, went other places. And so the courage that it took for them to stay amidst the very well-documented adversity that we were facing, puts this right up there with, I guess, I don't love the word pride, because I don't think that's always good, but I'm very proud of this group. I have been asked about the word fun. I guess I've used that word a lot this year, and I've said, it's fun, I'm having fun, we're having fun, all these things. Well, that's what it's been. It's been like, I love these guys. I mean, I've loved the journey of taking them from, I think anybody that watched us in November would say, we're dysfunctional competitively. We're dysfunctional as a basketball team. The ball doesn't move right. We're giving up layups. We're not boxing out. We're turning it over right and left. And it doesn't look like Oregon State. And it didn't. And so to go from that to where we were today and to do all the things that we've done over the last month and a half where it does look like Oregon State out there. And I couldn't be more proud of everyone in this program for just rising to it, taking it on, and believing when we had some tough losses and we had every reason to go, it's not our year, and just kind of wait till the off season. They never did that. Like every day was just a locked-in, focused practice forgetting what happened yesterday, whether it was a win or a loss, and just going, okay, how do we get a little bit better today? And so for a teacher coach, really, there's nothing cooler than that, you know? And so for this group, this year, what you got to see today, you know, obviously we came up short, but man, you saw a gritty, tough effort, especially first half before it snowballed on us. And that's who we are, you know? So yeah, I've had a blast with this group.
Gibbs with Power Plays. On that note, you know, with what I asked the players, did you learn anything new about yourself this year through all this?
Yeah. Well, I think what I learned this year was that all the hell that I've been through, and we all go through in life, right? We're not immune. Nobody's immune to going through hard things in life. The tough lessons and the tough moments I've had professionally, personally, they all had a reason. Because this year I had this crazy calm and this peace from the first defection last year on, you know, and I don't mean that in any sort of a negative way, but the first player that walked out on April 1st a year ago and told me, okay, I'm not coming back. Okay. Then another one. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. This is going to be a challenge. You know, this kind of sucks. It doesn't feel great. However, I get it. I've had this peace the entire time. And I've just learned, you know, I said it a year ago at the press conference at Elite Eight. I was asked if I think people might leave. And I'm like, yeah, they might. I said, that's absolutely a possibility. Have I thought of it? Yeah, I've thought of it. What if it happens? I don't know. But what I do know, life has taught me that God provides. That's what I said. And my faith journey in my life has taught me that. It's just like, just hang in there and stay the same. Keep doing what you're doing. Take care of people. And just roll with it. There's certain things out of your control, but what I can control is to stay the course. And that's what we've done. And so I felt like those lessons all were just rewarded this year. You know, so personally, it's been I would just tell you, it's been a massive blessing to do what we did this year and to be a part of what we've done this year. And so I've been encouraged more than anything. And so I'm just, honestly, that's why I started this whole thing with the word gratitude. I seriously sit here with I'm just grateful for what I've been a part of this year and the way we've been supported and loved throughout the year. And yeah, and so I've learned just to hang in there, I guess, and everything's going to be okay.
I think that's a great place to end. Congrats on a great season, Coach.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.